good morning, good afternoon, depending on where you are in the world. We're going to take a look at Bluebeam Studio and a little bit of an overview of what's called Studio Prime, which is a web-based management tool for your studio projects as well as your studio sessions. I'm a Bluebeam certified consultant in the process of also becoming a certified instructor, but the courseware that we've put together follows pretty closely the outlines that are used by Bluebeam itself. So when you do instructor-led training with me, you're getting top-notch information. A little bit about core functionality. If you aren't familiar with the Bluebeam product, the interface is easy to work with. What makes it extremely powerful is that you can take these PDFs and add markups to them. So you can put text and clouds and other kinds of notes in there. You'll see that as Dan and I work together, you can take these markups and store them in a tool set in what's called the tool chest. And these icons are a little bit older than the newer ones. The newer tool chest kind of looks like a lunchbox rather than the old pirate chest. But that makes it easier, again, to have multiple users on the same markup information. So one person isn't using one color font and someone else using another color font. There's a really powerful aspect called the markup list. So every markup you put into your file goes into a text-based sort of an Excel spreadsheet that can be exported to other files or into a Excel spreadsheet or as a hyperlinked PDF summary of your project. And then what we're going to see today is this real-time collaboration inside of Studio. So let me kind of switch back over into the Bluebeam environment here just quickly for you. I have a file open at the moment. I'm going to close it in a minute. But on the left side of the screen, the icon that actually will open in the Review Advanced profile, the Bluebeam Studio looks like this little house perspective. And you simply click on that and click Signing In. The sign-in box will come up. You will establish an email address and a password. And if you don't have one yet when you have the software, down here at the bottom, you can simply choose to create one. Try to remember the password because if you don't, you get to recreate it. So let's see if I can remember my password today. Some days I do, some days I don't. Let's see what we get. There we go. So I was successful. Over here on the top, we have two items, projects and sessions over here. So let me go back over to the slides and we'll talk a little bit about those. So a Bluebeam session is designed to be online collaboration among a team of up to 500 users and up to 5,000 documents. Sounds a little insane, but it's easily handled. So you can have a very small project, you can have a very large project. It's designed to have people in the same document at the same time, which is what Dan and I are going to do, and be able to discuss issues. Another advantage, though, of sessions is that some offices have multiple people that need to work on a project. And rather than having them have individual copies in the office and then having to import markups from those different files into one central file, we could put that file up online, and then people can access it whenever they want. So while sessions are sort of intended to be one-off deals, where you open it up and work on them, and then close it down and get a report, you can just leave them up and running for really as long as you want. There's really no limit to the number that you can have. Projects, on the other hand, are essentially a document management system, kind of like your file system in your office on your server, or if you were using Dropbox or something of that sort, and allows you to upload a whole bunch of different types of files. So you can upload AutoCAD drawings or Revit files or Word documents or Excel spreadsheets or PDF files. These are accessed one person at a time. So just like in your office, only one person can open a PDF or a Word document, edit it, save it, and then someone else can open it up. But I'm sitting here at home in my bunny slippers, and I could access any files I need on a project without having to VPN into the office or have any other sort of complicated networking access from a remote location. So as long as I have the internet, I have total access to all of the files on a particular project. Okay, so we'll come back to Studio Prime in a minute. Studio Prime is going to allow us a little more control over our projects and our sessions. So let's get a session going here. I'm going to go ahead and close this floor plan. And I've logged in, and there's projects and there's sessions. So what I'm going to do is open this session I have, which is called, I think it's the demo session here. Actually, so there's a demo session that Dan and I have worked on before. So all that Dan has to do at this point to access the session is to open up Bluebeam Studio and then to choose this session number. Now, I can send him an invite. So all he needs is 079-401-609. In fact, anyone out there in the world who has Bluebeam Studio can log into this now, and we'll see you show up. There's Dan. He's logged in there. It says I'm well, that's a different me. I'm offline. Sometimes I have to demo by myself to be two different people. And I can also create invites, right? So I can create a list of invites. I can copy that invitation. I can set up different permission levels for people. So you can get into all kinds of detail with how you want people to have access. And again, it's limited to 500 attendees. It looks like I'm going to go ahead and cancel that. So as people make revisions, uninvited attendees have attempted. I'm going to go ahead and continue. We'll go ahead and just see who these are. We've got someone here pending. I'm not quite sure, but I'll go ahead and pick OK. And I'm not sure if we're going to be seeing them in the list or not. Let's see what we got here. Notifications. Anything else? Pending. I think we're good. Okay. So as people are working in the file, you will see their markups appear in the list. So I can click on something that Dan maybe just put in, and I'll be able to see what that is. Or I can come in and come up here, let's say, and yellow mark something, right? And that will immediately go into the list, right? So I can click there, and I can see what Dan is doing. You also have the ability to have people follow. So for instance, I can request attendees to follow me, or I can come down and I could say follow attendee. So I could choose follow, and as Dan moves his cursor on the screen, I will see exactly what he's doing. So he could say, hey, Reed, I want to talk about this door here. I don't like the way it is. Let's flip it into the room, and I can see exactly where he's going on that, right? So that's a really nice collaborative feature, and I can basically choose to not follow. So you go back and uncheck. I will. So that's the idea of sessions, right? Now, at the end of the day, when you are finished with that, at the end of the day, when you are finished with that, let me go back here, and you are done, you have the ability to do the following at the bottom. On the bottom of where the chat bar is, there's a little hamburger icon, and we have the ability to take that and expand that, and we can create a record summary, PDF package report, or combine all the files into a report. I can get a complete package of all of the files that are online, a complete summary of all the markups, and I will have that now as a legal record, okay? So that is something that's fairly valuable to have. In addition, at the bottom of the screen, we would have our markup list, and this is the markup list that's showing me everything that is going on in this session at the moment. Let's see if I can expand. So everything, every markup that has ever occurred in the session, I can see in here. And I could come through and say, well, I want to filter just to see what Dan has done. So I would have just Dan's information in there. Or I could filter based on a particular date or a particular activity, or I could maybe say, look, I only want to see callouts. And there's only one callout. I can click on that, takes me right to that callout. So the markup list is in every PDF document. The columns are all customizable. You can add the ones you want, take out what you don't want, and that's all very, very useful and powerful. At the end of the day, that can be exported here in this drop-down, and that can be exported into CSV or XML that can go into a Excel spreadsheet, or there's also a PDF summary that you can attach to the file, which means all of the markups will be hyperlinked to their original locations. Now, if you have to go out in the field to do something, you can temporarily come up here and go offline. So I can click, would I like to work offline? Yes, I would work offline. I'm not sure if that disconnected me from you guys seeing things, but if it did, I'm going to put a cloud in here real fast, and that will end up listed here as a pending operation. So it put a cloud in as a pending operation. I went out in the field. Now I'm coming back into the office. I come back here to reconnect. That pending option now is added to the records, okay? When we're ready to leave the session, I could close it out if I wanted to. I could end the session completely. I could finish the session. So I have an option here to completely finish the session, which will archive all the files and take them offline, or I can simply leave the session. So I've simply left that session, and I no longer need to work on that. Dan, if he's still in there, he's still working away on the session. So it doesn't close it for him, it only closes it for me. Projects have a different structure. So I have a project in here called the Oval Office Building, and I'll double click on that, and you'll see that there is a folder structure for that. So I've established the folder structure over here at the top. I have the ability to adjust all of that. We can show it in a couple of different forms on the upper right. Inside of there can be PDFs. We can have specifications. So there could be Word documents in here. There's also some CSV files, a DWG file. As long as you have the software on your machine to open that file, you simply double click it here in the list, and it would open that file. So here's my master spec. I double click that, and Word will start up on my machine, and I will open that particular document. Okay, so I've got a set of specifications for this project. Now, when you have it open, you can set it to read only, or you can open it so you can edit it. So if I right click and I open it, it's read only, but I can also check out a copy, right? So I can also check that out. I can also download a copy. It can also be set to synchronize with your file server in the office. So as changes are made here, they will update in the office. You also have what is really cool, something called a revision history. And so every time you revise a document, it stores a copy of that when you save it back to the project in Bluebeam Studio. And you can go back to really any particular date and see what was done, and you can restore that if you want. So you've got a complete record of everything that was happening, okay? So everything that you do inside of Studio in terms of creating new projects or adding files or doing collaboration is done inside of the Studio product itself. Okay, so I'm going to hop out of that, come back over here. So what is Studio Prime? Well, Studio Prime is something that now will sit on top of Studio, so to speak. This is going to allow you to have a subscription-based interface that is going to give you additional administrative functionality that you don't have inside of Studio itself. You can also see more into the organization, Studio activity, and you can also create external applications, or there's some out there that you can use already. And you can also view and set up automations for the software. So this is the Bluebeam Studio Prime dashboard, essentially. And how do you get to it? Well, you can get to it a couple of ways. You can go into your web browser, and you can access it by going to studio.bluebeam.com and logging in. But one little thing I didn't know initially using the software, but if you have absolutely no files open on the screen inside of Bluebeam, you can right-click. And when you right-click, the last option is called a web tab. Now, my machine sometimes behaves a little badly, so if at some point the screen goes completely white, as it does on me every once in a while, I simply close and reopen the interface. So I can come up here to the bar at the top, and I can simply type in, and hopefully I do this right, otherwise I end up on the wrong website, studio.bluebeam.com. Now, it's going to ask me to log in, and Dan had created this project, so I will go ahead and log in. I'm using the same credentials outside of Bluebeam as inside, so you only have to set that up once. Make sure I spell it correctly. And looks correct, I think. And we'll come down here and try my password again. And there we go. So it opens up the portal for me inside of the Bluebeam product, which means I can be in a project or in a session, right? And also in this web view of the product. So I'm going to take you through the interface here over the next few minutes and show you how that works. And I'm also going to show you one of the automations. It requires me to kick the software a little tiny bit to get it to work. And again, it might be something on my machine, but I'll show you how an automation can be set up. So for example, as I upload a Word document to this project, I might want it to automatically create a PDF. So rather than in the office having to do that, I can automate that process. And it doesn't matter if I'm uploading one Word document or 100 Word documents, the process can be automated. I can do the same thing with DWG files if I wanted to. Okay. So let me go ahead and I'll close this for a minute, and I can kind of walk you through the interface a little bit. So we have several sections which I'll talk about over the next few slides. Again, key benefits for having this, it's really more of being able to manage members of your Studio Prime account. You can assign or restrict ownership. You have the ability to access content also in Bluebeam Studio through the API. There is something called Studio Insights. I'm going to try to illustrate that. What it will do is it'll show you a complete overview of how the product has been accessed and used, and there would be reports that you could generate over any particular period of time. Folder automation is what I'm going to also illustrate. You'll have the ability to generate a PDF right from a Word document that gets uploaded, and hopefully I can illustrate that for you live. I've tested it a few times. It does work. It seems to require me to close and reopen the project, but it's not the end of the world to do that. And you can, again, also export markups. You can insert cover sheets. There's a lot of automation that you can implement. The Studio API, either you do programming or you can get external applications that can help manage your projects. Okay, so the dashboard itself. So users, projects, integrations, sessions, and automations, insights, recently created projects. So users, let me take you into the users screen. I'll come back over here, click on users. So you'll notice that there are several items at the top. We have members, we have collaborators, and we have 0, so it's going to have to think about that. Oh, it has 14 collaborators, and we'll come over to pending invites. Members, you have a little more control over than you do for collaborators. So collaborators are people outside your office. Members are people inside your office. You have the ability to invite or edit. You can display a certain selected item. There's sorting. You can disable or revoke privileges or change a member to give them administrative privileges. So inviting a member, you basically log into Studio Prime Portal. You click on users. You go to that page. You enter an email address and an invite gets sent out. You can click send the invite and it will show up in their box and you will see pending invites. So inside here, you click invite. You would come over here, put in a user's name. You could decide if they are a member or the admin person. You would then go ahead and send a welcome message and send that information out. Projects and sessions, again, you will be able to see all of these listed. So if I come back at the top and switch my drop-down under users to projects, I'll see all the different projects, including the Oval Office building, this one here. And this is where that screen goes white on me. Let's see if I can get it to close that. We'll try that one more time. There we go. So sometimes you just have to kick it a little bit. So here is that particular project. At the top, I can see attendees. I can also see the documents that are listed inside of there. Under sessions, see if I can go back. Under sessions, you can see the different sessions that we were working on, and I forget the one that we were just in, but there was there's one I have in here, let's say, called Punch List Demo, and there's my list of attendees, as well as the list of documents that are in that particular session. Okay, so that was something that was established at a particular point in time, and I can see that listed here. So project details, we have, again, attendees and documents that are listed, and we also have under session details, attendees and documents. You have the ability to control ownership. You can view in review a file. We can look at generating an insight report. We can restrict attendees. We can delete projects. So lots and lots of control in here. So again, if I was on this project and said I wanted to transfer ownership, it would say, well, who do you want to transfer ownership to? Or we could view that in review, and again, it doesn't really like my setup here. So because I'm in review already, I'm not quite sure what it's trying to do at that point. So that works better if you're accessing it through the web browser. We can look at generating insight. I'll do that separately. We can restrict attendees. So we can come in and say, you know, I'm going to come over to a particular person and be able to control. Now, I don't have access to them here, but I could restrict. I don't have an access to this particular person. It's just me and Dan at this point, and we're both administrating this, but you would have the ability to do that, or you could really delete a session right from here, so you don't actually have to go into Bluebeam if you were on the web. Okay, let me go back up to the top. And I am here. Okay. So insights. Let's take a look at the insights. We can have insights on projects. We can have insights on sessions. We can do insights on users. So if I come back over to the Insights button and click on that, we have projects, we have sessions, and we have users. So if I go over to the, let's say, sessions, click on the sessions section, there's a drop-down list. So here's one that was a session called the punch list demo. You can add additional, so you don't have to just have the one. You can add additional sessions if you want, or additional projects if you want. What's the metric that I want? Well, I would like to see activity. What's the date range that you would like? Well, I haven't done anything in there for a while, but I do remember that there was, let's say, a custom range somewhere from, keeps going back on me. Let's go back to December 1st until today's date. And I'll go ahead and say apply, and then we'll say go. And it'll go out and it'll generate this information for me. And I can see here pretty clearly all of the activities that took place in that time range, right? So I have this information that is available for me to review. I can also do the same thing for users. I could check and look at particular users to see what they had done. So again, I could go into my account, I could look at activity or internal participation, or I could show external participation. I haven't tried this. Let me try show my user activity, and let me go to, again, a custom date range here, and I'll go back to that same range. Let me come back here to today's date. We'll pick apply and pick go. And if I had any activity in there, it will go ahead and again list that for me. Okay. So again, a lot of, you can get into really deep dive into aspects of your projects through the software here. Come back up to home. Okay. Integrations. So integrations would allow you to create some additional custom applications. You'd have to be able to do programming for that, or you would acquire that piece of software externally and use it. So there are some people that have already generated applications that'll work in Studio Prime, and I believe you can find that list on the Bluebeam website. In automations. So what automations are going to allow me to do is to create custom workflows to sort of make my life on a project a little bit easier. Let me show you how that works. I'm going to come back into Bluebeam itself, and let me go open up the Oval Office Building project. So inside the Oval Office Building project, I've got a section on PDFs, Word documents, and under specifications, Word documents, I've got thinking. Normally opened up really fast for me, but underneath Word documents, I have these two files. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to delete out the master spec Word document and delete out the PDF now. So I'll right click and delete that. And I'll right click and delete that. So there's no PDF Word document and there's no spec Word document at this point. Okay, so let me go ahead and I'll close this. And let's take a look at my automations. So I have an automation that I created for a particular project. The only thing I am unable to do, I believe, I haven't been able to find a way to do that, that when I create an automation, it's linked to a specific project. You can create, again, multiple automations for multiple projects, but just be careful that when you create one initially, that you're setting it to the correct project. Again, there may be a way to edit that. I just haven't found it yet. So I will apologize if I have that information wrong. In there, you can choose to include subfolders or not, descriptions. You can edit input settings, disable, delete. If I click edit input settings, I will have this, and this is basically what my automations are. I'm going to just cancel that for now. So I've got one automation here listed. It's for Word documents. So let me go ahead and choose to edit that. In addition, you can add automations for images that get uploaded, PDF files, PostScript, Excel, and AutoCAD-based DWG files. Let me click on the Edit button and bring up the automation. This is for converting a Word to a PDF file. And you have the ability to control what gets transferred. You have the ability to customize the page. You also have the ability to add actions. So what are those? Well, I can click Add, and then I have the ability to control all of this data. So maybe I'm uploading a PDF that has, markups in it, and maybe I would like to flatten those markups. Or maybe I'd like to, as I load it, add some custom columns that I've created. Or maybe we're having problems with files. I want to go through and repair them. Or I want to reduce file size or insert blank pages. So you have lots and lots of customization that you can automate here. You can also automate the output. So you can say, where is that file going to go? So right now I have it set so that it goes into the PDFs folder. Okay, so let's then go ahead and come back over to my home, and we'll reopen the Oval project. Okay, so I'm going to go ahead and come over to specifications, Word documents, and what I'll do is I will go ahead and add a file. So I'll click the Add button, Files. I'll come over and find the file. Of course, when I was demoing it, that folder was right at the top, so not there. Now there's the master spec Word document. I'll go ahead and pick Open and OK, and the bar will go across and it will load it. Now, it was supposed to automatically generate under Word documents that PDF, and there it is. So it went ahead and automatically created that PDF for me. So now I have that available, and I could open that up. I'll say open it in split screen, and there is that document. So I didn't have to do anything at all to open that Word to create that Word PDF. That was automatically created for me in the software. Okay. So let me go ahead and close that. And okay. So the last thing, I didn't get back to Insights. I'm not sure what happened to Insights, but let me show you. Let me show you Insights. I don't think I did show Insights, did I? Let's come back in. Let's come back into Bluebeam. Where is my Bluebeam? I think I may have closed Bluebeam altogether. Let me go ahead and open up a copy of Bluebeam here. I'm using Bluebeam Extreme, by the way. Let me go ahead and reopen Studio. There's my studio. And I could also come in here and go back to that web tab. So let's see if I can recreate this and come back here. And we will go ahead and go back to studio.bluebeam.com. And I'll go ahead and re-log in.
Hey, if you want, Reed, while you're doing that, just say a few words.
Go ahead.
So basically, this is basically a rough overview of the functionality and then the certain aspects of it, right? So at first you have Bluebeam, you have all the functionality as shown on this dashboard and what it's capable of and using it on that single user's computer. Then the next step from that is connecting in Studio. And basically, I guess like the premise behind that is really sharing, instead of passing the baton, so to speak, of the drawing and having it go to 5 people when you send out an email to 5 people, it would be centralizing that whole thing. So instead of sending it to 5 people, you could actually host it somewhere yourself and then say, hey, those 5 people come join it here and work on it here. So this way we can kind of track that activity, and it keeps consistent with that single source of truth aspect. Instead of having 5 separate documents that you need to, in a sense, consolidate later, this brings everyone kind of together on the same page. And in that type of like in virtual environment that you guys would be working in, it, in a sense, allows for communication. It would be like an office meeting at work. You're looking at someone across from you and something comes up and you bring it up. It just allows that easier communication with the team on the most updated things. So basically, I mean, there's that with Studio and projects. And then if you think about it, Bluebeam Studio is broken up between those projects and sessions. And if each individual user has their own projects and sessions, then it can kind of multiply. If you have 10 different users or 20 different users or 50 users, you could see the complexity of all their different sessions and all their different projects. So basically that's where Studio Prime would come in, and you could say, hey, I'm going to assign an admin or a person or to basically oversee all of our projects and set it up. And have someone in control of that and to manage it and say, hey, I'm going to open a session for this one project, phase 1, and you can invite the necessary people. You could see who they are, their members, and then a couple of collaborators, like a potential subs for these documents. And then you can upload all these specific documents. With that, of course, you could set timeline and restrictions on who's allowed and for how long. As well as some people who maybe just want to be in there to read only. So basically, this dashboard gives you all those insights into what is currently happening. And it also allows you that second level of functionality with integrating with your current systems or your other softwares, and also allows you to do those automations, like anytime you upload that Word document, it creates a PDF for you. And in a sense, that workflow is just like uploading a PDF document. But that's just kind of like a rough summary of that type of environment. And so I would recommend it, right?
Yeah, I'm essentially done at that point. So that's really an overview of the product. So you have within the software itself, we have the sessions and we have projects. Again, the idea is that sessions are online, real-time collaboration, or simply leaving your PDF documents online so that multiple people can have access to them at different points in time, rather than having to have multiple copies of a document. And then projects, again, are set up so that you can have a folder structure where you may access any kind of document on a project online, and so that you don't have to be in the office. I know, we've had some snow days recently here, and so, if you don't have a VPN set up in your office, then you're not going to be able to work on the documents. But it's really just a matter of uploading them to a project through Bluebeam Studio.